Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Digital to Dice podcast. I am Dave.
I'm Ron.
And Ron, we have episode 257 today.
We do. We're kind of, we're out of uniform numbers. We're out of area codes at this point. Yep, it's 257. And we're 100 away from it being a gun, a Magnum.
Yeah. You know what's funny? Last night is I went out to dinner with a friend that I went to high school with, and I've known since we were in junior high, which is back in the late 70s. And I don't hang out with anybody from high school. It's just kind of how it worked out. You know, some people still are friends and some people are not. Just all my friends moved away that I hung out with. So anyway, we got talking last night, and he was talking about how in summertime he would go into school and go to the computer room, and it was like a Commodore 64.
Ooh.
Yeah, in the computer room. And so he would learn BASIC. And I says, oh, yeah, you remember the time we worked on that BASIC word game? And and I remembered the name of the game and everything. And I'm like, wow, I haven't talked about that game in 100 years. And so we got reminiscent about that. And where I'm going with this is that last week was 256, right? And he mentioned something that I didn't realize. He goes, did you know that in that BASIC code for the Commodore 64, you could create an image? Is that what you would do is you would put in all the numbers of the 200 picture, 1 to 256 in like a portrait. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
And if in whatever number you put in, that pixel would light up, so you could actually create an image in the game, and that's how you would do it. It's painstakingly long, and you'd have to have some kind of artistic, capabilities to figure out how to put in that. But
it'd be like doing a light bright.
Yeah, so in other words, just picture a light bright and just putting in the little lights and then creating that image. And that's what he would do. Like he said, you put in 14 and then 35 and then, 27. And whatever you put in, that would light up to create the image. And I said, geez, I never knew that. And so I said, we just had 256 last week talking about pixels, and he brought that up last night at dinner. Cool. And I was like, that was kind of wild that I didn't remember that there. But it's funny when you talk to somebody you haven't seen in a long time, there's a lot of things that they remember that you don't, and vice versa. It's
sure.
He's like, you remember this? I was like, no. But he said, you remember this? He said, no, I don't remember that. So it was a fun time at dinner last night.
Nice.
But the 256 pixel thing with the Commodore 64 is something I never knew. But when he started describing it, I knew exactly what he was describing when he did it. I says, oh, that's interesting. That's how you would do it. But anyway, this is episode 257 of the Digital to Dice podcast. Ways to get a hold of us, digitaltodice.com. That's digitaltodice.com. 978-751-DICE is the text line. digitaltodice@yahoo.com. And over on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/digitaltodice. And if you'd like to support the show on Patreon, patreon.com/digitaltodice as well. So here in episode 257, our topic's going to be texting the ex. And what that means is that, have you ever gone back to a game that either you put away, maybe you gave up on, maybe you didn't, maybe just for whatever reason you started playing something else or you got involved in something else? Have you ever got the urge to go back to a game and pulled it out and really just enjoyed it again? Or pulled it out and found out, well, this is why it's my ex. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, kind of revisiting games that you played in the past. And I have a couple of examples for myself that I'll get to, but we'll talk about that today. Any other house cleaning we got going on here, Ron? Yeah, we should be back to a normal schedule now. This was my last big weekend of broadcasting. The playoffs are pretty much over. I might have 1 or 2 games left, but that would be it. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I already feel the weight off my shoulders here after I got through yesterday's game. I took a big sigh of relief. I actually said my goodbyes on the air. I said, depending on the schedule, I might not be back this year. If I am, it would only be for 1, maybe 2 games. So that is done. I did a chat last night. I've been playing some games, streaming some games. So I'm slowly getting back to where things were. And next September, I have to make some decisions of what I want to do, because it was fun. It was too much, though. It really broke me down. It just broke the will. There's just so much work. So next year I'll have a better schedule when it comes to all that stuff there. But so where was I going? Oh yeah, so we're back to normal schedule here. I should be back to a normal schedule on the YouTube channel and the whole bit. We'll be catching up on Patreons and channel member things and the whole bit. So, yeah, looking forward to kind of getting back to normal here. I see. I will be going down. So today is the 30th of March. Is it the Ides of March? Is that what that is?
Oh, that was the 15th.
The 15th of the Ides of March. Okay. So I missed the Ides of March. All right. So so that just gets rid of that conversation. But anyway, in a couple of weeks, I'll be heading down to Connecticut, and I'm going to
enjoy your Caesar salad.
Yeah, my Caesar salad. Yep. I'm going to be checking out the Digital Today's Con venue firsthand. Hopefully, I'm going to call them up and try to get a room down there. And I'm going to meet Mike down there, and I'm hoping they're going to let us in the room. I'm going to test the Wi-Fi, maybe do a test show from there. I'll get some video footage of what the room looks like, how we might set it up, and just kind of basically scope it out. You know, send a search party in and scope the place out so when I show up in May that I'm not going to be completely surprised, that I'm going to have a pretty good idea on what I'm looking at. So at least I'll have pictures and videos to look at as far as setting things up to see where we're going to put the developers and the vendors, and where we might put the tournaments, and where we might have like the general gaming section, and where we might put the snacks and the water and stuff like that. So we're just going to kind of scope it out so we have some kind of a game plan. And if we can connect with you live on the internet or not, which is going to be a big deal. And someone brought it up too. They said, geez, if you get there and the internet's bad enough that you can't stream, it's like, well, this is going to be a one and done at this venue. I can't imagine they wouldn't have a good Wi-Fi for that room.
I think all of them would have it at this point.
I would think, but hotels
it is 2025,
But hotels are kind of weird. I haven't been in a hotel in a while, but some of the hotels, the internet is very spotty. Now
let's put it this way: if they still are advertising HBO on the marquee, it may not be the most technologically advanced hotel out
but
there.
It's just hotel Wi-Fi or internet can be really weird, and so but I'm thinking that if we're paying a lot for that room, they better give us a good Wi-Fi. If not,
remember it was a big deal in the late 70s, early mid to maybe late 80s, and you'd pass a travel lodge or whatever, and you'd whatever their pool, HBO or Showtime. I mean, those are the things that they always. We get HBO in the rooms.
Yeah, or cable. It would just say cable.
Oh yeah, you go back to the mid 80s. Cable.
Yeah, that was the big thing. Yeah, getting HBO in the room. And the other thing was the bed with the quarters that would shake on you and the whole bit.
Theory is, to go completely off topic, a good 10, 15-minute documentary on YouTube on the rise and fall of the magic fingers.
Really?
And I think there's still like 2 or 3 hotels left that still have them. It was like a 1 or 2 person operation. And it essentially was a massager that went under the bed, and how you could license the stuff to be in certain rooms. And when he passed away, it just kind of went away.
I remember, I was on those a few times as a kid, and it was really good. But when it stopped, it was an immediate stop, and it was just like you just felt weird for a while because and you had to you had to keep it going. It just you didn't want it to stop, because when it did, it's weird because you were shaking and shaking, and then stop. Oh, now what? Your body's still shaking, but it was a weird feeling. So
yeah, he made a fair. I mean, him and the hotels made a fair amount of money doing it, but yeah. It's worth it. It's worth it if you Google magic fingers and have the safe search on, that you can find it.
The safe search,
the SFW version of that.
Yeah, right. One thing I was watching today, my buddy Ray from Around the Layout podcast said he was watching on Amazon Prime. He was watching the documentary or the docu-series of the Madden football games.
Okay,
and the creator of it, and I can't think of his name off the top of my head because I only watched a few minutes of it, but the creator, the guy who got Madden involved, and the reason why he went to create the Madden football is that in the 60s or 70s or whatever it was, he created a tabletop football game. And he was talking about how he created this game, and he would have family and friends over, and he'd be playing the game with them. And he said, they'd play for a little bit, but it was really mathy and really geeky. And they would get up eventually and go just sit in front of the TV. And so he said, something? He goes, I see why people don't want to play this, because it's mathy and it's geeky. He says, but if I could get this on the TV, I think they would play these games. And so it was interesting how the guy that was responsible for setting up Madden, had originally created a tabletop game.
I know I've heard the story, and I'm sure it's mentioned in that series, that Madden wouldn't sign up because endorsement deals were a big thing then. You're talking the era of Earl Weaver baseball and Tony La Russa baseball and Tom Landry football. Hello, Kerry, and such like that. But Madden wouldn't sign on to do any video football game that wasn't 11 on 11.
Yep. I only watched about 5 or 10 minutes of it. Now that was already mentioned. That he wanted to get somebody on. Joe Montana had already signed on with
Sega.
Atari at the time. No,
was it Atari?
This was before Sega.
Okay.
They signed on with Atari, I think it was. So they said, well, we can't get Joe Montana. Who can we get? And he says, well, I want someone knowledgeable with the game that, maybe a coach, maybe that's someone who's, entertaining in the whole bit. And Madden just fit the bill. And they went after Madden, and they had Madden's agent on this documentary. And he says, we get approached, and 9 out of 10 times we'd say no to somebody. And but this guy kept approaching us, and he'd get on the train when Madden would travel on the train.
Oh, yeah.
And he would talk to him. And there's videos of them chatting and, whatever at dinner. And the guy was like, Madden was insistent that we have 11 on 11. So he goes, we approached him and says, we don't have the technology, the power for 11-11 in our computers here. But what if we did like a 7-on-7? Just didn't have the tackles and the guards. And Madden's like,
nope,
that's not football. That's not football. He goes, football is 11 on 11. So they had to scratch that idea and figure out a way to make it 11 on 11. That's where I ended off. But yeah, so it's called It's in the Game is the name of it. It's on Amazon Prime as a docuseries. And so if you could check it out, let me know. Or if you've already seen it, let me know, because I'm watching it right now.
The first time that we had Kerry Batts on, because Kerry was the primary push behind Tom Landry football. Mm-hmm. In fact, there's in pro strategy football, there's still the sound set from Tom Landry football, complete with the backup voice for the Giants. First down. And somewhere, hopefully, Kerry is able to get this digitized. Are all the conversations he had on tape with Tom Landry about
nice.
What should be in a football game. I remember the first time it was the first time that we had him on, and going, oh, wow. So, yeah, most of those, going back to Earl Weaver and Madden and some of the others, if you're going to put my name on the game, I'm going to tell you how you're going to make it. Which today, I mean, I just PGA Tour, if we get into what we're playing, I just finished a round of my career for Tiger Woods PGA Tour 2025. And I don't know how much input Tiger had into doing it. And of course, none of these games are, this is probably I played my first version of PGA Tour back in 1990. So we've been doing this just a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
How much the namesake actually input has into it, but those early generations of console and PC games that were designed, with it, all had serious input.
I think it really all depends on the player and what was going on, because there were some players that just signed on to anything, and of course I'll endorse it, and I don't care what it is.
Right.
And there's others that really cared about their name and their brand and what they were signing up for, because I can't imagine some of the games that I've seen in the past that people have put their name on is something they really looked much into, that they just didn't take the check and see you later because it wasn't good. But I remember Wayne Gretzky was the same way. The Wayne Gretzky hockey game.
I had Wayne Gretzky hockey. Tremendous game.
And it was, okay, we need to do this. It has to be like this. And I want it to feel like hockey. And so, yeah. And
the thing with Gretzky hockey was that there was only like 6 or 7 teams. It could be a console-y type game. You could make yourself in the game and skate around, and there was kind of a simulation aspect to it. So they weren't blowouts or anything like that. So the Gretzky game was kind of a multi-level when it came to that. You could,
right.
So anyway,
so it's kind of interesting that I did that there. All right, what do you say we spin into what we're playing?
Sure.
And why don't you lead off this week?
Well, since I was just talking about PGA Tour 2025, I'm really enjoying the My Career aspect of it. Trying to find a level where it doesn't – I'm up to, I think, like the mid-level now. could consistently shoot under par, not find water except for today, and have a good time with it. And the game is designed to have a good time. It is not a super serious ultra golf simulator such as Action PC or APA or ASG. It is a console game you play for the computer, but trying to find a level where the pros are playing at a level where they're not shooting 40 under at Riviera over the course of 4 rounds. I played a course today, Manio Cove, palm tree. So I know it kind of has an Atlantic coast type feel and a Hawaiian feel at the same time.
Really?
So it's not Florida because it is not flat at all. But the visuals of that game are just so enjoyable. The Andrew Catalan reading for play-by-play for the tournaments that he does is rather flat and reminds me a lot of when that technology came in the late 90s. That's a bit outside, and you hear it for the 50th time in a row. But the rest of it is kind of dynamic. I just watch for that one to go on sale again. I did pay full price for it, or I didn't pay the early access, which was I think $99.99. I did pay because it is a 2-year cycle, as we've talked about. I did pay the full game introductory price for it, and don't regret it. Absolutely do not regret it. It is just a good mix of. I mean, the graphics are just incredible. Augusta doesn't come with it, but the other 3 majors do. So you find yourself playing these courses that we couldn't even get in the gates of, and doing quite well. And look, if I can physically play it, how challenging can it really be?
You know, that's what I found to be an issue for me with sports games like that,
right?
Or console games. Is I could, no matter if it was hockey, football, or Madden, if you will, or the golf games, I could never find something that was I couldn't find the mama bear difficulty. It was always just this bear's this part is too hot or too cold. And so, I would either, destroy the other team in football and hockey, or I didn't have a chance. And no matter, so the difference between normal and advanced difficulty was tremendous. There needed to be one more difficulty slider in there so I could at least compete without blowing them out. And the same for golf. And I found that golf, like you said, we were going 40 under every time, and that was considered fun. But, if you would have.
Fun for about 10 minutes.
Yeah, but I mean, would you rather go 40 under, or would you rather get completely frustrated by some other golf games that we've played and you just can't even find the green or the fairway? It's just like, so do you want realism or do you want fun in your golf game? And I think you have to almost decide what do you want, because if you try to play it that's too realistic, like I say, the pros don't even hit the fairway every time. A lot of times they don't.
Right.
And so you're going to be off the fairway, then off the green and chipping on. It's like, you're not going to be getting your birdies. So do you want that, or do you want to like put it right down the middle of the fairway, drop it a couple feet from the pin and tap in and feel good about yourself? And that's kind of how those golf games were. And it was never the happy medium for me.
I think personally I found it. You could consistently shoot around 70 each round. The game gives you good feedback in what you did right and what you did wrong. You could dumb it down. There's a reaction thing. I'm not quite sure because I can do a 3-click with this. I mean, I couldn't do a Madden now if I wanted to, just because of you pretty much have to do yoga to do it. I remember buying whatever the first year the PlayStation was, the PS1. I'm that old. And buying NHL whatever. The graphics were incredible for the time. And today,
probably 2000 or 99.
Oh, so, yeah. No, probably. I think it may have been 90.
Oh, it could have been 98. Yeah, I think you might be right with that.
I got the PlayStation before I got married, and I got married the summer of 98. So, and not being able to play it after being able to play the Genesis version of those games. Now, I couldn't do it, balls to the wall, full, whatever the top level was. But again, you just as you said, can I find that spot just beyond the blue line and slap it in on the goalie, or do I want to earn that goal? And it was, frustrating. You can either win 10-0 or you lose 5-0 or what have you. and so I realized at that point I really couldn't play a lot of those, physically play a lot of those games. So to even have one that I could play is pretty cool. Doesn't mean I'm doing the multiplayer thing, but yeah, this is enjoyable. I think I played this course today, shot a 68. I think I'm 6 shots out of the lead, but the graphics were great. It was overcast. It was windy. It was a challenge, but it wasn't an impossible challenge. And so at least you're having fun. You don't want to win every week. What else am I doing? I pulled out, I don't know why. I've been talking with you, obviously. I've done the 75-76 NHL season in Action PC with the Islanders and got to the finals, played Montreal, and took game 1 at the Forum. And then Montreal did Montreal things and resurrected things. So I was doing this on an old computer in Strat Hockey, and I put the code in again, and I've played just a handful of games so far. It really is, it is not in my sweet spot era. But so there's no Mike Bossy yet, but because of simming things and learning things, I really became a fan of Brian Trottier. And I think in that era, just before Gretzky, when the Islanders won 19 playoff series in a row, which is a number I don't think will ever be duplicated. They didn't do it in the original 6 era.
Yeah.
They did it in an era where
it's 21 teams,
24 rounds. So you had to win 4 rounds a year to win the cup. And so that 20th series was the 84 final. Edmonton, it was Gretzky's first cup. They'd beaten Edmonton the year before. They walloped Edmonton the year before, and then Gretzky came of age. But I am a firm believer that for a couple years stretch there, probably from 78 to 81, that Trottier was probably the best player in the National Hockey League because he could do it on both not only on off, he could shoot, he could pass. I mean, he's feeding Mike Bossy.
They actually beat 4 different teams. It was the Flyers, the North Stars, Canucks, and the Oilers.
And the Flyers and Oilers were good. We won't talk about the Canucks and the North Stars, but so he could shoot, he could pass, and he could play defense. He could do it on both sides of the ice and could take a penalty. So anyway, so all that to tell you that opening night in Kansas City, they lost.
Wow.
This P-Jet is just jumping up and down with that one. Yep,
you got to give a food reference if you're going to mention P-Jet.
I will when I get to the other ones I played. I played them against the Kings today, and the team that in that era was wearing the margarine wrappers for jerseys. Especially, remember it was Imperial margarine, right? Better not fool Mother Nature.
Oh, those Kings jerseys.
Yes, those Kings.
Those are great.
Yes, if you like butter that won't melt, those are great. I've played the Kings twice. Montreal beat them too. So the Islanders started off 1-1, and it's always great to have Andre St. Laurent score goals and Jerry Howard, who really should have spent his entire hockey career in the box. Anyway, I've done 2 Highlander games and 2 Montreal games. Montreal beat the Kings on opening night, and then the home and home back to back. They go down to the Garden. Okay, so I don't do the transaction. So this was the year that Esposito gets sent to New York for Rattel. Who did Esposito? Did Esposito and Sinnon's daughter do something together or something like that? I mean, how did Phil Esposito get traded?
From what I heard is that Bobby Orr was pretty much done at that point.
He did the first 10 games of the year and hurt his knee again.
Yeah. And whoever's running the Bruins said, something, Bobby's done, and we need a defenseman. And so they went and they got Brad Park from the Rangers, but it came at a cost. They were not just going to let Park go to the Bruins, so they had to give up something big. And for whatever reason, they said, I think we can give up Esposito and get Rattel, and we'll have our stud defenseman back. And
Carol Vadnais, by the way, feels left out in this conversation.
I always love Carol Vadnais.
So it's the end of the year rosters. And I always let the computer pick the goalies.
You know that the scouts were actually worse in their second year than they were in the first year.
Yeah, make me feel better about that.
Yeah, they won 15 games in their inaugural season, and they were horrible. And they only won 12 the next season. So it's just like, what's up with that?
We were looking the other day. Their first winning season was the year that they went to the conference finals in New Jersey when they were in New Jersey. I think it was like 88. They'd never had a winning year. That was the first time they'd ever made the playoffs. And that was the year that Jim Schoenfeld
87, 88. Yeah, they were 38 and 36.
Yeah. Anyway, so the Scouts beat the Islanders the opener. Trottier did get a goal and assist. So anyway, so Montreal goes to Boston. It's Jerry Cheevers, who must have been hurt or coming back from the WHA because he only played 15 games, behind Gilles Gilbert. And for 55 minutes, Cheevers throws a shutout. I'm getting pounded by Jean Rattel, Brad Park, Ken Hodge. Like, oh, stop it. I got a couple of garbage time goals late, and they beat me 5-2. So, but yes, remember, it's not nice to fool Mother Nature, and if you're drunk enough, that stuff will look fine on whatever it is you're trying to eat. So, but yeah, so PJ, congratulations. I know that you're a Seals fan, and at some point we'll be playing the Seals, but yeah, the Islanders.
You should stream the Seals game. I mean, PJ would love that, and I would love that too.
Right.
You should. Or at least record it and post it or something like that, because those games are fun.
It's surprising because Wilf Paymont is the only player of note on the Scouts. I'm sure we'll get notes now saying, "Oh no, so and so."
No, he's pretty much it. There was a couple of defensemen that were fair, but yeah, that team was
Is that Denny Herron was the goalie?
At some point, I think so. Yeah, they had.
I think that for whatever the computer picked that for them, he just stopped everything.
Sometimes those goalies they played all right in that game.
You got to win those games somehow. Those, as we've talked about before, bottom feeders.
So they had Dennis Herron played 64 games, and they had Bill McKenzie, and then they had some guy Olachuk played 1. But yeah, Herron was their main goalie.
Yeah, so
Paymont had the only hat trick against Montreal on December 3rd in a 6-5 game.
Did they win it?
Let's see. Montreal lost 6-5 in Kansas City on December 3rd, 1975. How did that even happen?
I can't imagine Scotty Bowman on the flight to wherever they were headed next.
So
after that.
it looks like LaRock played 40 minutes, gave up 5 goals, and they took him out. They put in Dryden, and they got 9 shots on Dryden and got 1 goal on Dryden, and Dryden picked up the loss. That was the game winner.
Bunny does not have a great card.
Imagine that. Dryden goes in, and he gives up 1 goal, and he gets the loss. Because that was
Lucien pull a wand, go to the president of the brewery and go, "That's the last game I play for you."
Yeah, Denny Herron was in that game. Robin Burns got 2 goals. Don't know who Robin Burns is, but anyway.
Anyway, so 56 replay is now solidly into June. The Yankees finally have gone over 500. Milwaukee, the National League, seems to be the big, along with Washington and the American League, the 2 big surprises. I could see Milwaukee just running away with this. They are that good. The interesting thing, and this may be a topic of its own, every game that we play is just a plug and play with numbers. So it all depends on what the numbers were and whatever your random number generator of choice is and math. Will determine that. In real life, they're a year away. And Brooklyn is the championship team, but they've been there before, and they know what they have to do. And that human element of, okay, here's what we got to do. We've done this before. We're coming off a World Series win, as a matter of fact, in 55. We'll do this, that, and the other thing, and that will get us the wins that we need. And computers are just kind of a fickle thing. There's no human element to that. There's rare plays and strange things, but I just kind of wonder if Milwaukee will end up running away with it. We'll have this conversation a month after they crash, I'm sure. But just always that little bit of separation of, well, the numbers say this. It's kind of like the 72 Rangers for you.
Yeah.
Like, well, why the hell can't we beat them? Well, here.
They're pretty good, yeah.
Yeah.
Action PC, from what I've noticed, middle of the season for you, you got some oddities, but by the end of the season, everything really does kind of shake out.
It will all shake out. And Milwaukee finished second that year. There are 3 teams in the National League that finished within 5 games. Brooklyn won it, and then Milwaukee and Cincinnati. So Milwaukee should be where they are. It's not a huge surprise, but yeah, no. In the end, I mean, but baseball has the biggest sample size of any of the big 4. So that's what I've been playing.
All right, for myself, I've been playing a little bit of Hockey Bones. Get the bones back on the table as I anxiously await the 77-78 arrival from the WHA season for my Hockey Bones. And some APA hockey as well. I want to go back to doing some more slow play because there's been a lot of new players or returning players to APA hockey, especially I've seen on Facebook. And so and they've been asking a lot of questions. So I'm going to go back and maybe play a little slow play again to show how I play a little bit. Maybe it'll help them out. Maybe it'll help them out. You never know. Went back to payoff pitch. And we're going to be talking about that in the topic of the show today. And I originally bought that a while ago, probably Black Friday, I think it might have been, to play the 1983 season. Don't know why. I just got an itch to play something a little bit out of my wheelhouse, so I picked up a new season, which was 1983. I was going to play it, and I never did. And I pulled out payoff pitch, played a couple of games, and next thing you know, I got 1983 on the table. And I've started that project there. Now, again, I've been doing a lot of Dave's Classic Rewind, which is just going back in time, picking one game and playing it and enjoying it for what it is and not really committing to a longer project. This would be a longer project that I'll chip away with from time to time. Kind of what you're doing. Pick a game of the week or, a game a day or whatever you feel like playing. Play that game and then let the computer simulate the others. So that's kind of what I'm doing with 83. It's been kind of fun. The handful of games I played already on opening day. What's the great thing about payoff pitches is that they have everybody, and everybody's with the team, so you don't have to go hunting for anybody. Unless it's a rare situation where somebody might have pinch ran and never hit. I don't think they card a guy like that. But anybody that was on the team is on the team, and in the 1983 season, the card even shows you like the dates that they played. So it'll say, whoever, Bill Campbell or whatever, and it'd say, he's with the Red Sox, and it'll say like, April 1st to June 25th.
Yeah, best cards in the business.
Yeah, so not every season does that, but there's a lot that do that show you. So when you're playing, you look at his card and you're like, okay, well, after June 25th, he can't play on this team because he was traded. And so that's the great thing about the payoff pitch. It does that. So you have everybody. So you pull out your roster, you set it up really quick, and then you play the game. And I got into a groove as far as stealing bases and running and stuff. So the things are working out for me right with that. So I pulled out a couple of odd games I played, and then I started the 1983 quote project using Digital Diamond, and really anxiously awaiting the new Digital Diamond, by the way, to come out, because that looks like it's going to be really fun as well.
Yeah, the season started, so that really should be at any point.
Yeah. I'm looking to, now the new Action PC football is coming out shortly. So I was, and if you remember, I did the 1979 season.
You had a lot of fun with that.
I had a lot of fun with that. Yeah, that was another game of the week situation for Action PC football. And so, okay, of course, the dog's barking. Can you keep the dog quiet while I do a podcast? Yep, no problem, Dave, no problem. So you'll hear the dog right now because I don't get any cooperation around here. And so I was going to start a new season of Action PC football, but I said, something, let me wait until the new game comes out so I can show up.
A couple weeks, right?
Yeah, it's in April, I think. So I'm going to go and pre-order that. So I figured I'll wait on that. So the new Action PC football coming out. I'm not sure what year I'm going to do. It's not going to be a crazy year, that's for sure. It's going to be a year that I'm familiar with, that I want to play. Like I say, 79 was great because I had the Buccaneers that year. What was weird about that, from what I remember, the LA Rams didn't even make the playoffs in my replay. That they just were bad. And do you know who ended up going to the Super Bowl to play the Steelers and beating them?
New Orleans, wasn't it?
New Orleans. New Orleans won their division. They ended up meeting. Tampa Bay beat Dallas in the playoffs and played New Orleans. And New Orleans beat them to go to the Super Bowl. And then I think it was a pretty good game from what I remember. I think New Orleans
it was a late game.
Tied it late and then got a field goal in overtime. I think Bradshaw threw like 4 or 5 interceptions. It was a weird game, but
Where was the NFC Championship? Was it in New Orleans for you or Tampa?
I think it was. I think New Orleans had the better record.
So if you go, because when do you think they got Musburger to get on the plane to go where they're going next after having to spend a week in New Orleans?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know where he would go.
I know where he would go, but we can't talk about that.
Yeah, I did love Brent Musburger back in the day. So I'll be getting some Action PC going here on the table. I need to get my guests lined up now that things are pretty much settled at work. I need to get the guests lined up, so I'll start contacting them. And the other project I want to start in this spring on my YouTube channel is I'm going to be taking a look at and playing a few minutes of every single Sega Genesis hockey game. That's a project that I wanted to do for a long time. I finally got the Elgato capture card working, and I'm pretty sure it'll work with this unit that I have here today, so I can get footage up, I can play, we can take a look at it, maybe compare it to some of the other games in the Sega Genesis line. But I want to get some, good, 5, 10, 15 minutes of footage of every single Sega Genesis hockey game. And that's going to be kind of one of my bigger projects this summer, is a series of those things there. So I don't do a lot of video games here, like what I consider video games. I don't consider Action PC a video game.
No, they're not.
So they're not video games. They're sports sims. So, but I every now and then I like to get some video games here on the channel. And mostly it's going to be the classic stuff. So you'll see that on the channel. And once it goes on sale, I'm probably going to start playing Skyrim again here on the computer. I got the itch to go and just adventure and discover some things. And Skyrim it's a 14-year-old game now, and it was probably my most played game ever. And every now and then I get the itch just to go back and walk around and go through dungeons and loot treasure, and that's just kind of mindless fun that I like to do. So you might see some of that on the channel. I won't stream a ton of it, but every now and then I might, just to kind of get it up here, because it's such a fun game to play. So that's what I played, and some things coming up here on the channel. And so that is that. So what do you think we get into the topic of the day?
Sure.
All righty. So there I was, trying to figure out what to play a couple weeks ago. And for some reason, a Payoff Pitch called my name. I got the text. I got the text from Payoff Pitch, right? Don't know why. It says, I bought that game a long time ago, played it and loved it, and then fell out of love with it.
Wonton soup on sale.
And then I pulled it out again.
You're welcome, P-Chan.
Pulled it out again and played it, ordered some seasons.
Dumplings on sale.
Yeah, I have a lot of Payoff Pitch seasons.
Yeah, you do.
They're less expensive than a lot of the other companies. The quality's great. I like the colors on them. There's just so much to like about Payoff Pitch. And so I ordered more, and I played it. And some reason, I got mad at it again, and I put it away. And I was like, man, I almost get rid of all my seasons. I was going to just give them away. Because I said, man, this game just drives me nuts. And I to this day, I still don't remember what it was. I don't remember what it was. So I pulled it out for a third time, texting the ex in the middle of the night. I got the text, in the middle of the night. What are you doing?
Hawaiian punch now and a crab rangoon sauce.
What are you doing? It's 2 a.m. What are you doing?
Hey, baby, what are you doing? We deliver till 4.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, all my exes, there was no cell phones when I had exes back in the day. It was just, they either showed up at your house or they called you at 2 a.m. But
oh God,
yeah, because there was no texting back in the day. But now it's texting the ex, so that's kind of what.
I thank God I didn't have any exes. I can't imagine someone knocking on my door at 2 a.m.
Oh yeah. I get the drunk phone call. I don't want to get on that road there. That'll be a fans only podcast, only fans podcast.
Only fans.
but anyway, so I pull out Payoff Pitch again, and I've gone back to many games. I have a ton of games here, and some I haven't played in a long time. And you pull them out, and so this is kind of what we're getting at today. Have you ever just pulled out a game that you haven't played in a while for whatever reason, and either you fall back in love with it, or after a couple of games you're like, oh, that's why I stopped playing this game, because this drives me nuts. And so that's kind of what it is right now as far as texting the ex. I pulled out Payoff Pitch and just fell back in love with it. I really did. And so far, I probably played, 10 or 11 games already with Payoff Pitch on the table. I've resolved my base running, and I've resolved my stealing to a point that I'm happy with it, and I got it flowing very nicely. And maybe that was it, but I forget what the hurdle was. But there was a hurdle, and I call them hurdles because there was something that was in the way, an obstacle, that it drove me nuts enough to put the game away. And to this point, I've not run into that obstacle, and I don't remember what it was. And maybe someone will remember what I was complaining about.
You mentioned it.
Because I don't remember. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, so right now, it's like I'm back with the ex, and none of the problems have happened,
And the dog hasn't pooed on the carpet yet.
Yeah. I think the last time I actually tried to make it work with the ex, we went out for a couple of drinks. This has got to be 30, 40 years ago. And she started to crap right in the bar. And it's just like, that's why I'm not seeing you anymore. Let's go. I'm dropping you off at the house. We're done. And I remember it's like, this ain't so bad. We're having fun here and the whole bit. And then she just, whatever she did, it was like, oh, that's why I don't want to be with you. And so I was waiting for that moment with payoff pitch this time, and it hasn't happened. And so I'm like, why did I stop playing payoff pitch? But there's so many other games that I've gone back to, and there's been a couple. There's been a couple that I pulled out, and I'm not going to mention their names because honestly I forget which ones they were. But I would put them on the table and say, boy, why haven't I played this game? And I go to play it, and it's in the setup or the first couple minutes of the game. It's like, oh, that's why I can't stand how they do this. This makes no sense to me. It's not fun and blah, blah, blah. Right. So there's been a few games I've gone back to that I was like, yep, just put it away. And then I put like the note on it, like, don't play this game. You know what I mean? Do not open. This is, don't want to play this game anymore. But there's been so many I've gone back to, and it's like, oh, wow, this game is great. It's like I miss it so much.
I think that for me, there really aren't any. There aren't many texts I return from exes. There are games that will go in and out of the rotation of things. I think Strat Hockey being one of them, and I think there's always, if you want to keep the relationship aspect of it, you just kind of always remain close to your first love to some degree. And so they'll get played, and then the flaw will come up or whatever it is, because there's always a couple games that get played all the time. I mean, Action PC Baseball is always up there. I think that we always are just kind of looking for a different experience in how to play a game, as opposed to I'll mention roster card because there's nothing that I don't like about it. I think that it does a good job for what it does. We've talked about that the game, I feel, runs a bit hot, but for what you get, it certainly, I mean, whatever flaws that are in the game, the rest of it makes up for it. I think it depends on what kind of mood you're in at a given time.
That's a good point too, because sometimes you're in a certain mood for a game or a certain experience.
Right.
And then other times, like, something, as much as I like this game I'm playing right now, I just want something a little different here. I want to be maybe challenged, because if you play the same game over and over and over and over, there's no challenge to it. It's just automatic. It's just, oh man, it's the same old, same old. And then you pull out a game that you haven't played in, a few weeks, a few months, even a few years, and you got to relearn it. And it's almost fun to relearn that game and to figure it out again. And now you're exercising your brain, because it's like, oh man, how do I do this again? I haven't done this in a while, and you're getting the rust off and the whole bit. And so, so sometimes you just, it's what you're in the mood for. And sometimes you're not in the mood for crap. Like you're playing a game and something comes up, you're like, I'm not in the mood for this. This I don't like this, and it's driving me nuts.
For me, it's more of a sport as opposed to a game. I'm always kind of in the mood for baseball, but I'll go months at a time and not want to touch a football game because it's not really a favorite sport of mine anymore, unless I got money on it. But then again, I'll find a game like Solitaire Pro and go, okay, I can relate to this, and we'll go, have a few hot and heavy conversations with it, and okay, and we'll just kind of, always in the back of my head, was never a huge pro basketball fan, but every once in a while I'll pull out Strat, or it's been a long time since I pulled out Above the Rim. Right now, hockey seems to be the other thing outside of baseball, and kind of enjoying it. But I also know at this point that it's not that my attention span is small, but like, okay, we got a couple of weeks of games into this, and we're going on to someone else, and someone says, please try out this game or whatever. I also do a lot of gaming with unconventional games to do that with. I picked up a curling game, which I want to try. And so I read the directions like that. It's, I forget the name of it, so I'm not going to tell you. But it's a freebie, and it looks like it plays like a play.com game. It's a characteristic game. So those sort of things. And so as your circle gets wider and wider, the opposite of finding friends in your 40s, 50s, and 60s, where it just kind of narrows down. I think for me, the gaming just kind of gets wider and wider. And so not only are you playing different sports, but different games for different sports. And again, you're hosting a party, you go over and you want to spend that 10, 15 minutes with that person you might see once or twice a year. They're busy with the kids and whatever, and you're busy with the kids and whatever. And so it's not that you don't mean to spend time with that person. You're just not going to get the chance. And so if you get that hour or two, once a month or once every other month, that's there. Because for me, just as someone who's done this for a long time, if I don't like the game, I figured out why I don't like the game, and it's not going back in the rotation.
Yes, I just have a different experience. It's sometimes because I play just so many different games that you get you're at whatever you are in your life or your week or your whatever it is, that you're just not in the mood for some things. And sometimes just a game does something a certain way, and you're like, man, I don't like this. I don't want to have to jump through all these hoops to make this game play. I'm going to go, back to whatever game. And then other times you go back to said game, and the thing that was bothering you that day is not bothering you on a different day.
Right.
And so you'll get a different experience, and you'll be like, this is really not as bad as I remember it. So I don't know why that I put it away. And again, there's other times that it's like, oh man, this is just confusing, and that's why I didn't play it, But there's sometimes I go back to a game and I fight through what was bugging me, or I solve it, or I deal with it a little bit better on a certain day. Again, sometimes, like I said, these games are, for a lot of us, they're emotional. They're very emotional.
I think that's why they work. It's because they invoke an emotion.
And so if you have a bad experience or a hard time getting the result, or you just have way too many questions. Sometimes you get a game, oh man, I got way too many questions here about this. And that just makes it not fun, because you keep stopping and asking questions and going on Facebook or Delphi, or emailing or Facebook or something. It's like, can you help me with this, because it's driving me nuts and I really can't continue until I solve how to do this. And sometimes you get a game that just does too much of that, and it's frustrating. And other times you fight through it. It all depends on what you want to do. Sometimes you just fight through it, or maybe you come up with your own way to do it.
I think that there's so many quality games for particular sports. I'll mention boxing, because these games that I'm going to mention I all like. I mean, there's kind of, the selection is so huge. I think you get trapped in the paralysis of what is it that I want to do. Glory Days. Great game. Al Red Sox fan, features it on his channel. We need to have Anthony on the show. He's tremendous. Legends of Boxing. We've had Gary Brown on the show. He's got the computer version of that. Again, very good game. Title Bout 2, which I've sunk some money into. But, when you get 400 or 500 fighters, what are my choices about this? The data event or main event, whatever, the Downey game I got at Christmas might be my favorite games of that, because it's a round by round thing as opposed to different chunks of that. So like, okay, tonight I'm in the mood to have a fight. And the wife goes, leave me out of this. Okay. So you're looking at it, going, well, what do I want to do? How far involved do I want to get with said thing? And okay, I might have gotten this. Now, who do I actually want to match up together? And then by the time you get there, it's like, I've taken 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Let's watch a video on YouTube, type thing. And again, there's nothing wrong with the games themselves, but the amount of thinking you got to go into to do that. I mean, you do that a lot because you cycle through a lot of things. Okay, I'm going to pull hockey bones back out. Oh, I got to remember how to do this step. And do I really want to go ahead and do this step again? And again, so, sometimes that the warts of whatever are going to be obvious, and sometimes they'll be picked up there. But there's also, I think, a lot of pressure on you when I know, oh, please try my game.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
So.
But going back, you remember? We'll reference PJet again. Okay, it's going to be the PJet show today.
Yes.
And you remember when he first started dating Apple Hockey, and they just fought all the time, and they broke up, and he ended up really she moved away real far away.
His ex at Strat just talks about him all the time, every time.
Yeah, and he's had enough of Strat, you know what I mean? But I don't know if he's ever gone back to Strat, but he was Stratted out, so that's his ex. But, he had a hard time with Apple Hockey, and they went on a couple of dates, and then they broke up, and they stopped seeing each other. But, then he watched some of my videos and Tebow and the whole bit, and decided to give it another chance. So so he got the texting the ex, and so they went out on a date, and maybe they're a little bit more mature. Maybe she grew up, whatever it was. But so now he's having a better experience with Apple Hockey right now, and so he went back to it. I never thought he would. Really, the way he talked about it, and all the TikToks that he posted about it, and all the other stuff there, and the Instas, and MySpace, and I don't know whatever else.
You're probably closer to his social media thing there with MySpace, but
what was before that? AOL bulletin board or something?
AOL bulletin board, absolutely. Prodigy.
I had Prodigy back in the day. I did. Oh man,
my goodness.
So, but he went back to Apple, and he just whatever. It's working this time. Or it's working better, I should say. It still might not be the ideal game, but it's working better. So even he went back to a game that he actually just smoked, on the AOL bulletin boards, and now it's kind of working for him. So yeah, I guess we're kind of asking that question today. Is have you ever got a text from the ex and got the itch to go play a game and try to find out why you stopped playing it? Or maybe it's just something that fell out of rotation because you found something you really enjoyed playing, and then you went back to a game and said, wow, I haven't played this in a long time, and this is super fun. Another example for me is Pocket Pennant Run. I pulled that out, it was over the winter, during my busy season. I wanted something real simple to play, and I pulled out Pocket Pennant Run, and I think I had 1979 all loaded on Digital Diamond. Yeah. And so I didn't even need the player references because all their ratings were in Digital Diamond. And I just played a game of Pocket Pennant Run. All I needed was the chart to show me what was what. And boy, I played that, and I had a super fun time playing that. It's like, man, I need to play more of that because I really did enjoy it. And it's just one of those games that fell out of my rotation, and I didn't have a falling out or anything. It just kind of fell out. And
I think for me that happens more often than not. It's not that I dislike the game. We have so many different things, and you want to try them all, and you just find something that fits you better on a given day.
So yeah, so that's kind of how it was. So again, there's sometimes that you text the ex, that you go and physically pull the game out, and sometimes it just, you get the itch to play something, and the ex texts you, and you're like, okay, what's going on here? Okay, fine, I'll give you a try. I'll put you back on the table, and let's see if we can make this work again, because we did have a relationship, and we did have some fun, and something happened, and maybe you forget what happened, maybe you don't. And sometimes you stop playing the game, and whatever it was doesn't bother you, and sometimes it does, So, yeah, so we want to know from you guys. Have you ever gone back to a game for whatever reason? Have you ever just forgot about why you stopped playing a game? And or did you ever just get sick of something, or how it played, it bugged you, and then you went back and you were fine with it, or you went back and you weren't fine with it? Is it just because you found a new game that you enjoyed playing, or what is it? So have you ever gone back to a game? Have you ever got that 2 a.m. call from the ex, and did you answer it? And for me, again, right now it's Payoff Pitch. It's back on the table. I ordered a couple more seasons. I'm enjoying the heck out of it. Started up a project with it, and it's working really well. And I think I've played enough games at this point that I would have stumbled over whatever the stumbling block was. So either it's not bugging me, or I've solved that whatever that thing was that was bothering me. So we want to know from you guys. Have you ever texted the ex, or has the ex ever texted you when it comes to playing your games? All right, so let's move on to our stars of the week, shall we?
Sure.
All righty. So here in episode 257, in no particular order, our stars of the week, our number 3 star is Jamie Hopkins.
Woohoo!
Jamie, thank you so much for being a supporter here on the show. Our number 2...
Jamie needs to tell us where we can find a hurling sim.
Oh, really?
He's from Ireland.
Okay. I used to watch the Irish hurling on TV.
Yeah.
Back as a kid, like they'd be on Saturday or Sunday, you'd see something crazy on TV like that, and it'd be Irish hurling. That's the one where they pat the ball and then they whack it like a baseball. It's like,
I mean, their sports are, their football is football, soccer, and rugby together, and their hurling is, field hockey and baseball together.
And lacrosse. Yeah. It's a little bit of everything. It's fun. So, so he is our third star. Number 2, Joel Hill.
Yay!
Joel, thank you. Thank you so much. And our number 1 star this week, someone who I've not seen in my YouTube streams in quite some time. He used to predict the strikeouts and put up the K in the comment section.
Okay.
Scott Long.
Oh, okay.
Scott, where you been? I've been playing some baseball, and I need you in there predicting how many strikeouts, and it was fun, so I'd have like 4 or 5 strikeouts. You'd see like K up in the chat room there, and he'd keep track of it, and sometimes he got pretty close when he would.
Maybe he's no longer single and needs to mingle.
I know.
Okay, there you go.
Somebody came in the chat the other night and they were laughing. They called them Gardnerisms, and it's like, really? Is that where we are right now? So I guess we are. And he was nice about it, but he's just like, every time you say this or you do that, it's like, and honestly, it just happens. I don't think about it. It just happens, and that's why it probably seems a little bit more natural or unconscious, because
I think we all do that to a degree.
Yeah, we have our catchphrases that we say, and it just even when I do the playoff broadcasting for the real hockey, I have my things that I say, and I don't even know I say it, and people laugh or they comment, and I'm like,
right.
I didn't even know I said it. I just. Al's got his, and Robert's got his, and you got yours, and
we all do, yeah.
ID and everybody's. Everyone's got their little things that they do when they play.
The key is with a catchphrase or something like that is don't force it.
Yeah,
Dick Enberg's "Oh my," and when he was in the top of his game, he'd slide it in there, and it would be a genuine reaction. But when he got older and was doing the tennis and the Padres, and you'd watch him, and like, no, that's forced.
Yeah.
Don't force it in there. And so when you do first down, it's a legitimate reaction as opposed to, that's a first down, and I got to say it.
Yeah. Sometimes I don't always say those little things, and sometimes it's good. I don't want to say it again because I probably use it too much. But a lot of it just happens.
Yep.
It just happens. You know what I did the other day, and I'm going to see if I can pull out the clip, is that we had a vicious playoff game. The first period was really bad, really dirty. And so the away coach was yelling at the officials. The officials at the bench, and the away coach was like, bah, 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 and the officials like, bah, bah, and they're going, and it wouldn't stop. It was just like, oh, come on. So I says, where's John Boy? We need a lip reader here. So I said, let me do my best John Boy. So I was just like, so they zoomed in on the coach and the referee, and they're going back and forth. And I'm like, let me see if I can read his lips. I'm saying he hit him in the head. And the referee says, I'm telling you, I didn't see it. So I started doing a little John Boy impression.
That's great.
Yeah, the cameraman was laughing. He goes, that was too funny. He's like, I had to do something because it was just stupid,
Did you bench minors at that level?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
okay.
Yeah. But I mean, it's not like a rec hockey game or a high school game. I mean, this is a high-level hockey. And so,
it's top-level junior hockey in the United States, too.
It's one step from college. So, I mean, the officials are expected to take some guff. And a lot of these guys are NCAA officials anyway,
And they expect to. And it's one thing to say, to drop a word in there as long as it's not getting, your mother wears army boots type stuff. That's when,
There's a lot of F-bombs off, like, this and that, and, this, that. I guess he was yelling at the linesman for the icing calls. It's like, oh, really? Is this where we are right now? So, But anyway, so I did a little John Boy yesterday. I'll see if I can dig out that. But
that's cute.
Yeah, so that wraps up episode 257. Where's my music? There it is. All right, ways to get a hold of us here on the Digital Today's podcast. DigitalToDice.com is the website. 978-751-DICE is the text line. DigitalToDice@yahoo.com is the email. And over on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/DigitalToDice. So, hopefully we're back to a regular rotation again, maybe even more of a rotation. We did an extended show last Sunday. This is more of a
live one last Sunday, yeah.
Live Sunday. This is more of a normal size show here, but we should be back in the rotation now. Going to try to get something maybe this week. Hopefully not wait a whole week this week. Maybe middle of the week we'll get something going here. Should be back to a normal rotation on the video stuff as well. And we're going to start getting some guests back here on the show. Looking forward to a fun spring as we gear up towards Digital to DiceCon 2025 in May, middle of May in Connecticut. As we're looking forward to seeing a lot of you guys there, meeting a lot of you people, maybe even playing some games in the whole bit. So I'm kind of hoping it's going to be a fun time. So I am Dave.
I'm Ron.
And we'll talk to everyone later.
Bye-bye.